Welcome to episode 40 of the Unstoppable Podcast. My name is Dan J. Gregory, and I am committed to hunting down the secrets of business mastery and human performance. My goal for the Unstoppable Podcast is to share insights from some of the most successful entrepreneurs, inspiring thought leaders, world-class athletes, and prominent celebrities to help you to become unstoppable in business and life. Each week I'll be bringing you a new interview with an inspiring person and sharing my own results as I pursue the answers to the question, how can I create the ultimate edge in my business, make a significant impact, and live an extraordinary life? Welcome to episode 40 of the Unstoppable Podcast. I cannot believe that it's episode 40 already. Moving fast to the next major milestone of 50 episodes. Before we dive into the show, I want to thank you for being a listener of the Unstoppable Podcast. If this is your first ever episode, then welcome. I hope you enjoy your first Unstoppable experience. And if you're a regular listener, then I want to say I really appreciate you tuning in, and I hope to connect with you personally in the future. Now, as we move towards the key milestone of 50 episodes, I'm evaluating the format of the Monday and Thursday shows. So if you have any feedback, suggestions, or thoughts around what you'd like to see included or the type of guests you'd love to hear from, then please do get in touch on the blog over at danjgregory.com. All right, it's time to dive into the episode, kicking off, as always, with the quote of the week. If you don't set baseline standards for what you'll accept in your life, you'll find it easy to slip into behaviors and attitudes and a quality of life that's far below what you deserve. Tony Robbins. This is a bit of a link to today's Unstoppable Insights, but before we dive into the insights, first I'll share my top 3 takeaways from last week's interview with Dallas Michael Cyr from episode 39, where we talked about finding your purpose. Here goes. Number one is to live consciously. Dallas talked about his defining moment where he was in his corporate job and he felt like he'd reached the peak, but he'd had zero space to pay attention to what was going on inside. And when he realized that, even though he was at the peak, perhaps financially or in his business, he wasn't satisfied, he wasn't fulfilled, he wasn't on purpose, he wasn't happy, he wasn't enjoying what he was doing. But it wasn't until he had the moment where he was able to break free from what he was doing and took a break, that he realized that he was in this warp. And this for me is a massive, massive point. And it made me realize that I had the same experience in my corporate career when, after 8 years of working in that environment, you go, go. You fail to see what's going on and you fail to tune in to how you feel in the moment and if you're happy about what you're doing or not. And what was interesting to me is it feels like over the past few months, I've got myself in the same situation again. Even though I'm fully in charge of my own destiny and how my business looks and how my day looks, I've been so outcome focused that I've been in the same kind of warp, and I haven't been living consciously. I've not been living life by design. I've not been focusing on what makes me happy and living on purpose. Aside from the creation of the podcast and the work I'm putting in terms of the Unstoppable Entrepreneur Program, there's a lot of time where I'm just 100% focused on work and I'm letting life go by. So the biggest lesson was to live consciously and to really take stock of the things that make me happy and the things that make me feel like I'm living life by design. And the key takeaway for you guys is, I would say, to take stock yourself. And if you feel like the story of being in a warp and in that go, hustle mode resonates with you, then let this be the jolt that wakes you up and gives you the opportunity to reflect upon what you're doing right now. Is it making you happy? Is it living on purpose? Number 2, the quote was from Dallas: "You've never made a mistake in your life ever. Everything is preparing you for the next perfect thing. Life is unfolding perfectly for you." And this made me think, and to be quite honest, I didn't necessarily agree with it first thing. After I had the interview, I took a stroll across the city, and it was really circling in my mind this concept of never making a mistake. And I was looking back through my life at some of the things I was less proud of, some of the things that I've regretted. And I was thinking, that was definitely a mistake. But what Dallas said made me think, actually, it gave a really positive spin upon some of the things that are perhaps viewed upon negatively in the past. And rather than now looking back negatively at those things that I regretted or wish I hadn't done or would have done differently, Now I look positively, thinking, actually, think about all the lessons I've learned from those situations and how my life has unfolded very, very differently as a result of some of those moments. Some of us have all been through some painful moments, some difficult moments, and those moments and those challenges shape us depending upon the way we deal with them. And if you look at it that way, then there really is no mistake, and life does unfold perfectly for us if we enable ourselves to do that. So I walked away thinking, actually, okay, my life's not perfect, but actually if I have the belief that life is unfolding perfectly for me and that what has gone before me was there to make me who I am today, then that makes me feel pretty good, and there's no harm in that. So I would say to you, again, listening to this, if there's been challenging moments in your past, then what if they were not a mistake and they were preparing you for the very next thing? What have you learned from your past that you can apply that you can apply to your life right now? What is your life like now because of some of the decisions you've made in the past to react positively to certain things? And it's just nice. It's a nice experience to remove that negativity from things we often look back upon unfavorably. Number 3, the question is, am I living fully authentically? Dallas talked about living in the full expression of himself. And he had a fantastic quote, which was, the world will accept you wholly to the degree which you accept yourself. And it made me think, because we had a discussion on the show, actually, live, if you've listened to it, about how I still sometimes go into corporate Dan. I had 8 years working in the corporate world, and sometimes I still have that approach, whereas, the inner me, the real, true, authentic DG is that passionate, excitable, laughable, like just fun, outgoing, crazy guy who's willing to say silly things to make a point, which is kind of masked by that corporate self. But I acknowledge that corporate level is important to have as a facet of my personality, but to live truly authentically, I really want to be stepping into that crazy, enigmatic, passionate, charismatic Dan, the full expression of me, without holding back. And it made me think, who am I? In what areas am I holding myself back? How am I not showing up fully as myself? And there's lots of unanswered questions, but I have a sense that there's more to come. There's like an uncaging, an unleashing. And, part of this podcast is what it's all about. It's about finding those things, and it's all a journey. But the message I took was, be you. Take inspiration from others, but be you and find your voice. And that was quite a magic moment, really, to go through that conversation and take that magic bullet, really, about living in that full expression of yourself. And we had a long conversation about how you find the things that light you up and how to find your authentic self. So if you haven't listened to episode 39, do go and have a listen. I'm going to go back and listen to it again fully myself, and as part of my evaluation process for the next quarter. So speaking of next quarter, 2016 is moving fast. Let's jump into the Unstoppable Insight section. So as we approach the end of quarter 2, I've started the process of evaluating everything about my life and my business that I'm happy with and identifying where I need to make changes. So if you listened to last Monday's episode on how to succeed with ease, then you will know that I've been embarking on a process to experience more ease in my life and to reduce the stress that comes from working at 1,000 miles per hour. And I had a call with my own personal coach at the end of last week where I openly shared that in the process of working so hard, I was really starting to feel the burn, not just energetically, but I was suffering. The amount of time I was putting into business meant that my relationships were suffering, my mental health was suffering. Not my mental health, I wasn't going crazy, but that mental sharpness, because stress is really the biggest block to creating exceptional work. I wanted to be on top of my game physically, mentally, and for every area of my life to be in optimal balance. And, it was a great conversation, really identified some key learning points and some key distinctions. But in the call, we really focused on 3 things. Number 1 was reducing stress. Number 2 was increasing the quality of my sleep. And number 3 was improving gut health, which is the absolute key to long-term well-being. However, the lesson that really struck me was that I've effectively been slowly losing control of my time. And time is beginning to control me rather than the other way around. And my coach asked me what my life would be like if I continued to operate at this speed over the next 30 days, 90 days, 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, 25 years, and so on. And I didn't have to think about it for too long, but I realized that I had to make some changes. And specifically, I had to make some changes to the standards that I live by in order to not only create the results that I want, but also to experience life the way I want. Going at 1,000 miles per hour and not being in full control of my day, my time, my hours, it's going to take a toll. So the absolutely most important thing for me to do right now is to evaluate what I'm demanding of myself and decide upon all the things that I will no longer accept in my life, all the things I'll no longer tolerate, and decide upon exactly what I'm committed to in my life and set some new standards. And I've already set the theme for the next quarter, which is work less and win more, which I'm already excited about. So in today's insight segment, I'm going to take a deep dive into the impact that our standards have upon our lives. You see, the amount you earn, the area where you live, the work you do, the type of home you live in, the quality of relationships you have, it's all predicated upon a standard that you're committed to. Think about it. Unless you challenge yourself or commit to improving a particular area, whether it's your income, your physical appearance, your health, your relationships, or your lifestyle, the chances are what you're experiencing right now is likely to be roughly the same as it always has been. We will often settle for comfort, whereby we want the result without the effort. We want to make the change without actually doing anything. And how many times have you told yourself the things that you should do? I should lose weight. I should make more money. I should have a better relationship. I should get up earlier in the morning. I should start exercising. Any area where you're not getting the result that you want is because you have not raised your standards and you haven't turned those should do's into must do's. So when you raise your standards, you take control over the quality of your life. And this was the thing that struck me on the back of my call with my coach. It's about raising my standards and taking the power back. You see, what's the common denominator amongst successful entrepreneurs and leaders? Their hunger and their drive pulls them to where they want to go. Those who are most successful in life are willing to do everything necessary to achieve their vision, and they set a higher standard for what they want from their lives. They have decided to step up, to take action to turn their dreams into reality, and they defy the odds by defying their fears, defying their limitations, and they defy the conditioning that leads most people to accept that struggle, scarcity, and loss are unavoidable. Well, if you look at anyone who seems to have a superior life to yourself, and this is something I've been guilty of, I can guarantee when you look at them, if they have a superior life to you, then they have a superior standard in whatever area you're looking at. So if you see someone who works out 5 times a week, it's not because they have more time than you. It's because they have a higher standard. They never miss. They set the standard and they live by it every single day. Relationships are another example. This is a direct reflection of your standards. Some people are in a relationship right now, but they aren't happy because their standard is simply that they must be in a relationship, but they've got no standard for the quality of that relationship. Others, however, have a standard that they must be in a relationship of pure love, joy, passion, and excitement, which produces a totally different experience. Your personal standards are also reflected not only in your personal relationships, but how you treat yourself. When you have high standards, you expect to be treated with respect. And when your standards are low, it could be a reflection of a lack of self-esteem, where it's highly likely in that case that you allow yourself to fall victim to other people's influence and you live life at the helm of other people's decisions. Other people probably have often taken advantage of you, if this sounds like yourself, because you failed to stand up for what you believe in. Having a high set of standards, or in fact, having standards are intricately intertwined with our levels of self-esteem. Therefore, to raise our self-esteem requires us first to begin by raising our personal standards. The problem is, most of us do not consciously set our standards, and in most cases, they've been created unconsciously based upon our past experiences and our day-to-day existence. Have you ever heard someone say, "That's just the way it's always been"? It's a line I hate. I can't stand it. But when did you decide? When does someone decide what they were capable of experiencing or not experiencing in their lifetime? How many years ago did you decide what you could and could not do? Do you have goals that you would like to achieve this year? Have you ever considered that in order to achieve these goals, that you must first raise your personal standards in certain aspects of your life? This is a massive lesson that I've personally been through. Your personal standards, the things you identify with and commit to on a daily basis, make such a difference to what you can achieve. In order to achieve a goal, you need to live life by a certain code of behaviors that match the outcomes that you're seeking. So you may, for instance, need to discipline yourself to go to bed earlier, to put more quality into your work, to commit to eating healthier, improving your fitness. The majority of people have very low standards and very low expectations of themselves. And this is why many people don't achieve anything of significance in life. It's not because they don't have the ability. It's just simply that poor quality standards lead to poor quality results. So when you set high standards, you immediately raise your expectations of what's possible. You suddenly expect more from yourself, more from your actions, and more from others. And you're willing to do more to get the results you're after. So by raising your standards, you raise your game. So tell yourself right now that you'll no longer settle for a life of passive indifference. If you want the ultimate rewards in life, you must live by the ultimate standards. And it starts by asking yourself what you're no longer willing to settle for or tolerate in your life, and deciding upon who you are committed to be and what you're committed to experiencing in your lifetime. So here is your unstoppable challenge for this week, which is the very same exercise and challenge that I'll be putting myself through to make some major changes into my life going into Q3 of this year. So I've got 5 very powerful questions for you to help you evaluate your own standards. And these are the exact 5 questions I'm working on myself right now. All of these questions, do write them down, take out your journal, make a note right now, write these down, take out your phone, put them in the notes. But if you don't get a chance, if you're on the fly, they will be in the show notes. Don't worry, at danjgregory.com/40. I'm going at a speed of light again. So here's your 5 questions. Number 1. What am I no longer willing to tolerate or settle for in life? What am I no longer willing to tolerate or settle for in life? Number 2 is, what do I want the most in life? What do I want the most in life? Number 3 is, who will I become as a result of achieving this? Who will I become as a result of achieving this? So you're taking what you want and figuring out who you will be as a result of achieving that. Number 4 is, what standards do I need to set in each area of my life in order to be the person I see myself becoming? That's powerful. What standards do I need to set in each area of my life in order to become the person I see myself becoming? And then finally, number 5, what new habits and rituals must I adopt every single day to live these standards consistently? What habits and rituals must I adopt and live every day to achieve these standards consistently? Now, the chances are, even just listening to this, you've probably already identified at least 1 or 2 standards that you're unhappy with, to say the least. And you may look at your finances, for example, and say, I should really earn more, but you never do because you never see yourself as a person who's able to go beyond your current income. However, instead, if you decide with 100% conviction that you were the best income producer in the world, you would achieve your earnings goal and your standards would raise. Because now you identify yourself as an awesome money-making machine instead of a person with the inability to earn beyond a certain limit. So if you make that fundamental identity or standard shift, you'll then take the action necessary to stay true to who you are, i.e. a money-making machine. And you will end up with a lot more money in your bank account, and you'll feel a lot more satisfied because you're living up to the standard that you're setting to myself. Now, if you don't believe me that this is going to work for you, then take the challenge with me. Finances are an area of massive focus for me right now. It's an area of standard that I'm going to smash through because I've had my own self-imposed limitations when it comes to finances. So I'll be changing my own beliefs and my own standards. So if you want to raise your financial game, be sure to subscribe to the show to follow along with the journey. And please do come and join the discussion on the blog over at danjgregory.com/40 for this week's episode, and leave a comment on the blog about what standards you're working on. Now, finally, to finish the episode today, stay tuned this week because on Thursday, you're going to learn from Daryl Urbanski, who is an expert in creating 7-figure automated income funnels online for your business. So be sure to tune into that one. Nice little link from the financial section we just talked about. In addition, however, if you're looking to scale your business and increase your profits and your earnings through digital products or coaching programs, then you absolutely must register for my latest webinar where I'll be showing you the steps that I'm personally taking to create, launch, and sell out my brand new signature program. I'm going to show you every single step that I'm taking so that you can model the steps within your own business. So be sure to register right now over at danjgregory.com/webinar. That's danjgregory.com/webinar. All the links referenced in today's show will be in the show notes, so do head over to danjgregory.com/40. But that's all for now. Until next time, go out there, unleash your greatness, build your empire, make your impact, and live your ultimate life. You are unstoppable.